let's do your money line. Your money line is a vertical line that goes from the headline up towards the Mercury finger. The explanation is between the Sun and the Mercury finger. And that section between the head and the heart lines, that's age 20, 30, and 40, up to 45. Then it crosses over the heart line at 45, and then it's the rest of 40, and then 50, 60, 70. Okay, 2 lines, 2 incomes in your 20s. Now, if you go to school and you get financial aid or scholarships or anything, you have to count that as income because it's a benefit to you. And then you got 1 line in your 30s, and then you've got 2 lines in your 40s. At that point, it crosses over that heart line. 3 lines in your 50s. That should be good news. Although in your 50s, that's just right there at the end of where the marriage line ends. That's kind of a little congested. That was a little bit hard to read. So that's 3 lines in your 50s. But they start, stop, start, and stop. And then 2 lines in your 60s. And 70s, that line's a little bit broken there from your 60s and 70s. Well, there's a little gap there in your 50s, too. That's probably when you had your accident. Yeah, that gets a little messy when that line gets up there. But I got to give you credit. You keep on trucking there. Oh, my gosh. After a traumatic brain injury and you're still working. See where the flirt lines are at the end of the heart line, the little tassels on the end? Those are very good, by the way. It means you interact well with people. And then that section between the flirt lines and the ring around the Mercury finger, you divide that into thirds. So going up from the flirt lines, that first third is age 20, 30, and then 40 and 50 is the next third, and 60, 70, 80 is the last third. Your children lines come down in little lines right from the ring around the Mercury finger. And it shows 2 children in there. Now, they're probably stepchildren. Because, my dear, you have got a marriage line in your hand. Okay, the relationship says most important one. Probably the longest one in there. And you can't count relationships when you're still a teenager. They just don't show in the hand. All right, then I get that 1 marriage line. It's in purple. It's sooner than you think because it's sitting about in the late 50s and 60s there, early 60s. It's a good line, nice color. It's got a good shape to it and everything. A really good marriage line. And then I show in the green, see the little green asterisk? 2 children lines. They're probably stepchildren. Okay, let's do your heart line. Your heart line is that. This is the first major line that shows up in your hand. And that comes down in between the Saturn and the Jupiter finger. And it should make a nice curve and then go off to the side of the hand where the flirt lines are. It comes down, it gets a little bit straight. When it's straight, you're kind of tough emotionally. That means you generally had a physical injury. And you kind of guard your emotions. Look up there in your upper left-hand corner where it says lines of energy, and run your finger down where it says islands, I-S-L-A-N-D-S. You don't want to see those little islands on any of your lines, little ovals or triangles or anything, because it's a break in the energy if you see any of those little lines. You want to see a nice clean line. You got a couple of them there in your heart line, but you'll understand that more when we get down to that spine line, because you're out right where your heart nerves are. Okay, jump over there underneath that Jupiter finger. This is your 6th sense. It's very good, by the way. You want to see a nice little fat mound there, and yours is just excellent. Here's how that works. That's your intuition. If you got a little problem you got to solve, just clear your mind completely. Let it go blank for about 30 minutes, and then when you come back to solve the problem, you'll probably have it already solved because your intuition or your 6th sense is kicked in, and it helps you solve the problem. So listen to those little promptings inside your head. who you got in your left hand, who your guardian angels will show. That's, your guardian angel, like your grandparents, your parents, your siblings, your aunties, uncles, cousins, old boyfriends, old girlfriends, who they are. And it's going to show the age you were when they passed away. Starting between the thumb and the Jupiter finger, I just go down every 1/8 of an inch is about a year. And where that line comes off the bottom, or it attaches there to that line, this will be on your left hand only. That's the age you were when someone died and they become a guardian angel to you. So here's the ages at 13, 17, 19, 37, 49, and 52. Then in your right hand only, this is a visit from a guardian angel. And this is a time when you've been really sick, or you've had an accident, or if you've got hurt, or if you're in distress. Then that line will, or if you had someone in the family that's died, a loved one that's died, generally their spirit lifts from their body and goes around and checks on all their loved ones before it goes off into the light, so it shows a visit. So it'll show as a visit as a guardian angel. So this is the age you were when you got a visit from a guardian angel. This only shows in your right hand at age 14, 23, 35, 40, 45. So 45, you probably had a little visit from a guardian angel and you had the accident. Now the length of the fingers are your talents. Long fingers mean one thing, short fingers mean another thing. And they've all got good qualities, so it doesn't matter if they're long or short. The shape of your palm is probably your most important talent. Oh, yours is an artistic palm. It's kind of rounded on the sides. You see color and proportion and things that fit together well. Look in the upper right-hand corner of your chart where it says types of fingertips. This is your personality. You've got all 5 round fingers. Intuitive, quick, very compassionate. Should be in the help field. Okay, jump down there to the thumb now. We're going to do your talents in your fingers. The thumb's quite long. That means you'll do well in life. Good manual dexterity. You hold tools and instruments in your hands. You work well with your hands. Now that Jupiter finger is long. Well, let me go back and explain the names of these fingers. Palmistry is about 2,000 or 3,000 years old, and they'd gone through and they named all of the fingers and different areas of the palms, usually with Greek gods or goddesses' names or astrological names. So that index finger is the Jupiter finger, the middle one's the Saturn finger, the ring finger is the Sun, and the Mercury finger is the little finger. That Sun finger is sometimes called the Apollo finger too, so in different books. And then that little one's the Mercury. That section between the head and the heart line is called the Mars area, clear across the palm. And one other important section in the palm is right at the base of the thumb. The little fat pad there is called the Mount of Venus. Venus, goddess of love. And that also is going to show if you're drinking enough water or not, if you're staying hydrated. You're slightly dehydrated, not too bad. You need to drink a little bit more water. Make sure you're getting 32 ounces a day. Okay, back up to the Jupiter finger, the index finger here. That is absolutely average. It needs to come to about halfway up on that top joint on that Saturn finger. And it's average, so you got all the qualities. Short, self-motivated worker, you work well on your own, and then if it's long, it's the boss finger. Manager, supervisor, teaching finger. Saturn finger's a little short, concerned with social issues, very compassionate, again, word compassionate, like in your fingers. And the Sun finger is good, short, practical. Oh, it's short, practical, systematic, organized. And the little finger's short, hands-on person, very active. Alright, we're down to the head and spine line now. That head and spine line is going to tell you 2 things. How smart you are, about how straight across your hand it goes. And then if you got any problems in that spine at all, it's going to tell you where the problems are in that spine. And that spine runs your whole body. Now, the health of your spine is going to show in that head and spine line. I don't just tell you this because I'm just a palm reader. I've actually got a master's degree in health education, and I'm an old school teacher. When I was finishing my master's degree, I was in my 40s, and I started reading the Palmistry books, and they had so much health stuff in them. It was unbelievable. And I found this old book written by a medical doctor, Dr. Eugene Scheiman, and he told how you could see the spine in the hand, in that head and spine line. It's almost like doing an x-ray. In fact, I've had some people take my charts and match them up with their x-rays, and they just match up almost exactly. If you got any problems in that spine, it's going to show with those little island marks. Remember how I had you run your finger down and see those islands? And that starts in between the thumb and the Jupiter finger. That says, understanding your cervical spine. It's got a picture of a vertebrae down at the bottom of it, and you've probably already seen this. And off that spinal cord, off of each one of those vertebrae, the little bony process, nerves come from the spinal cord off of each side of each one of those vertebrae. Now, find the chart that says, Chart of Effects of Spinal Misalignments. And see the spine on the left side there. Then the next column is the name of the vertebrae, cervical, thoracic, lumbar, tailbone. And the next column is the areas. That's the areas that the nerves go to from each one of those vertebrae. The head, the eyes, the cheeks, the nose, the thyroid, the heart, the lungs, etc. That last column then is the effects. And that's the effects you get if that vertebrae is turned out of place, twisted out of place. Easy for those vertebrae to get knocked out of place, especially if the muscles on each side of those vertebrae are not very strong. So that last column then is the effects you get when that's turned out of place, or if it's been knocked out of place or damaged or anything. The effects then that you'll get is like strokes, depression, ADD, ADHD, eczema, problems in the throat, chronic fatigue, heart conditions, lung conditions, stomach troubles, etc., etc. And you get down there to that 3L, and that's your female organs. That causes some problems, especially if you're trying to conceive. So going along that spine line, under that Jupiter finger is your cervical vertebrae, 1 through 7, and you're out all the way through that. I don't think you're out the top 2, though. If you was, you'd be getting the worst depression. Well, you might be out in the top 2, but I don't think you are. It'd cause you some real serious problems. Then, underneath that Saturn finger is your thoracic, 1 through 12, and you're out about halfway, not even halfway through that. Usually when you're out the top part of that spine, it's going to throw you out the opposite way in your lower spine. Then after you get through the thoracic there, then your lumbar is going to show underneath that sun finger. And see the little island under there, the red mark? And but it's only turned one way. If it turns one way at the top, it'll turn the opposite way in the lower spine. So when you're out that top of that spine, it eventually throws that lower spine out of whack. And then, thank goodness, your tailbone, your sacrum, your coccyx, which shows under that little finger, it seems to be okay. So under that sun finger, in that lower spine, you're out in that lumbar, about that 1 through 3, and 3 is your female organs. But I say, thank goodness you're not out in your tailbone. That's painful. You probably already know that if you're a nurse. Underneath that line, see underneath where the money line is? There's another line that's a vertical line. It's the health line. It should start from the fate line and just go up to where the money line starts on the headline. And it's your internal organs, your colon, your spleen, your liver, usually the organs in the lower part of your body. But it looks good. It's just one clean line, and it looks okay. If you get a lot of stress in that lower spine, you'll get 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 lines in there. It means it's getting quite stressed. Yeah, if you leave that spine out of place, that'll stress that lower part of your body. Go back to your chart that says understanding your cervical spine. That talks about your cervical 1, cervical 2. I'm not sure if that's out or not. That generally shows as a little island right there where that line starts, in between the thumb and the index finger. And I couldn't see that very well. But if that is out of place, that you'll have to go see a craniosacral specialist, because usually all the nerves go out into your body and they end up in your hands and your feet. But the nerves from that C1, C2 end up in the roof of your mouth. And they do what they call craniosacral therapy. Usually the chiropractors learn to do that. Sometimes a physical therapist or some medical doctors know it. But they have to be trained for an extra 8 months. All right, now we've got one last line. This is your fate line. It's down in the lower right-hand corner, and it's in green. This is a line that starts at the base of your palm. It goes up to your Saturn finger only. 2 starts to it. If it starts to the outside of your hand, you're very sociable. If it starts in the middle, you're private. But you're sociable. You like to have your friends and family around you all the time. Every time that line breaks, it's a change in the career or the lifestyle. Sometimes you'll get just little forks off that line, but they're just little minor changes. That first change there is about age 27. By the way, where that crosses the headline, that's 40. Where it crosses the heart line, that's 50. When it gets up to that ring around the Saturn finger, that's 80. All right, age 37 to 40. See that just below the headline? 2 lines, 2 jobs. And then there's just 1 line up to 48. On age 48 to 50, there's 2 lines, 2 jobs. And then there's some congestion there. About 51, that's probably where you had your accident. It gets a little bit messy in there. And then I get 2 lines. They go up to age 60. And at age 60, the line forks. And one goes off to the left of the Saturn finger. When that goes off to the left of the Saturn, it means your spine's jammed. But we already knew that. And look, there's a little green asterisk there. It continues, this continues over there in the middle of the page. The line on the right then goes towards the Jupiter finger, and that means fame. Are you going to write about your life or your... You don't have a real long writer's finger, but it's still a fame line. And you've got... well, I don't know if you're going to write or if you're just going to have some fame or what. It doesn't say. All it is a line. It's just a fame line when it goes over to that Jupiter finger. And then there's 2 or 3 lines that come off that little line. They're little success lines. So whatever you're going to do, it's going to be a success. And then that line to the left side of the Saturn finger, that goes on up into the Saturn finger that tells you how long you're going to live, and it shows till the age 84.